Have you ever wondered what the top guns of 2023 are? Welcome back to the shooting channel, and welcome back to what I feel is a fair top 5 guns of 2023. And as we all know, 2023 has been quite a rocky year for the gun trade and for shooting because of the cost of living crisis. There's lots of other things that have impacted our industry as a whole. But there are still 5 guns that have kept themselves out there and still pushing and still really trying to support the trade and the industry. So this top 5 guns that I'm going to do, I did this at the end of November in 2022. So this is why I'm doing this exactly a year to date, to see what has changed in the shooting industry. Number 5 top selling gun 2023 is the ATA Range. Imported by the Sportsman Gun Centre, the ATA range has been out in the UK for probably 10-15 years, and they have really come up. They only make inexpensive guns, so under £1,000, but that market is quite buoyant at the moment because people don't necessarily want to spend an absolute fortune on that gun. So that is my number 5 spot. Number 4 is the Yieldit range. So I'm going to say there is 2 of these in that range. It's the SPZ range and the Yieldit Sporter and the Yieldit Pro. The reason why these have gone up in my expectations is they have got the full range. So if you want to get onto the Yieldit range, they start at the SPZ range, which is about £400 to £600, and they go up with the Steel Sporter, which is about £900, and they go up to the Pro, which I think is probably the best new gun on the market. Again, everyone can look, it is a copy of a very well-known Italian brand, but this particular gun, in my eyes, has been out for probably 5 years. It very rarely goes wrong. It's got 5 years warranty. It is a very, very top-class gun. And if you look at the people that are shooting them now and the top shooters that are shooting them, they've massively come up. So that is my number 4 spot. My number 3 spot is the Maruku range. Maruku is always there and thereabouts. Browning do not promote these as much as they should, but they are still always up in my top 5 guns. Because with the best one in the world, all you've got to do is look on the internet and you can see how many people actually want to buy a Maruku gun. This is the MK38 grade 1. It looks basic, but it does exactly what it says on the tin. So the Maruku range of guns is number 3. They are imported by Browning themselves, so Browning own the rights to Maruku in Europe. Number 2 is the Beretta range. I've actually got a 692, but this has been superseded by the 694, and then you've also got the Silver Pigeon range. This is number 2, and again, everyone's heard of Beretta. It's one of those guns that are always up there, 1 or 2 spots, and they're good guns, they're good quality guns. They're imported by GMK, which is owned by Beretta, and that is my number 2 spot. And then number 1, the top selling gun of 2023 is the Browning 525 and 725 range. And this, I'm going to be honest, they retail at between £1,600 and £1,800, the 525 range. It's a fantastic gun. It's been around for years. They started with the 325, went 425, 525, 725. They're always there. And this is why they are in the top number 1 gun of 2023. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through them and I'm going to talk about what these brands have done this year to help them keep their spot within the top 5 guns. Because there is loads of different manufacturers all trying to fight for this top spot. And with the best in the world, with licensing being hard to get, with the economy, it is quite a hard thing to get, to sell guns in this economy, and with the licensing and all that sort of hard thing to do. But these 5 guns are all here for a reason. So I'm going to go and talk to you about what these guns do, or what these brands do, to help them keep on top. So my number 1, which is the Browning range, I'm going to be honest, first thing, it always depends. I can remember, if you go back 20 years ago, it used to be Beretta, always number 1, always there. And I've looked on the internet and I've looked around, and over the years, you always have either Beretta or Browning on the top spot. But within the marketing and out there in the big wide world, each one of these guns, it's always one of these that are sponsoring everything, supporting the industry. It used to be Beretta 20 years ago, and it's now turned into Browning. And if you look at what Browning do, you have shooting schools up and down the country, which Browning give demo guns to use on the shooting school. And with the best in the world, it's a bit like learning to drive. If you learn to drive with the gun, you genuinely will buy that gun that you learn to shoot with at shooting schools. And this is why Browning adopted this probably about 15 years ago, and they wanted to go to a lot of shooting schools and put demo guns within those shooting schools to get people shooting. So the 525 is probably the most used demo gun out there. They've also sponsor a lot of events. They sponsor a lot of kids events. So they sponsor things like the Schools Challenge that Oxford Gun Company runs. They sponsor a lot of the school events around the UK. They sponsor a lot of the top car clay shooters. So Sam Green, one of the biggest names in clay shooting, a big sponsored Browning shooter. This year, they also sponsored all of the CPSA major championships. So they have tried to be their number 1 spot. They've tried to be in there. They are also at the big shows, whether it's in themselves, so the British Shooting Show, they have a huge stand. And again, if you went to the British Shooting Show in 2023 and you've got Beretta and Browning, Beretta's had a really small stand. Browning had a huge stand. As soon as you walked into that show, it was Browning. They hit you in your face. So this is why Browning have got the top spot. Again, used to be Beretta, and now Browning have just taken on doing that top spot. They also do things which, as far as my knowledge goes, they are the only people that have done this year a cashback. So they started a couple of months ago, and it finishes on the middle of December. If you buy any Browning product or Winchester product, you got either a £75 cashback or a £200 cashback. Now, I know that's not a great deal if you're spending £5,000 on a grade 5, but at least it's a gesture to support the end user. And with the best in the world, you, the viewers, are all the end users. You're the shooters. So you look at the gun that fits the most people. You also look at the gun that is out there in the big wide world. So that's something that Browning has done to try and encourage and support the shooter. So over the year, they've supported everything from young shooters to lady shooters to normal run-the-mill new shooters, adult shooters. They've also a big sponsor of BASC, which is the biggest organisation out there, which is the organisation that really you should be a member of. Again, Browning is that brand that really, really sticks out in people's mind because they are the brand that's always out there and always keen to support. Then I've got Beretta. Now, again, this year, I'm going to say they've been there. They do their Beretta Worlds, which they move around the country. They're imported by GMK, which is now owned by Beretta. But if you look at shooting schools, if you look at the major big shooting schools, there's not many shooting schools that actually support or have too many Berettas, apart from old ones on their shelf. Some of the gun shops do. Most people now, if you're looking at buying your first gun, you go to one of the shooting schools to buy them. So that is one thing. They did do it 20 years ago, which is why they're always in the top 5, only the top 3. So 20 years ago, Beretta used to be there. They pounded the shooting schools, but now Browning have taken that spot off of them. That is one reason why Beretta has kind of slipped down in people's eyes, is because with the exception of the Olympic side, the skeet side, that's about all they really sponsor, and they do the Beretta Worlds. So that is why Beretta is still in there, because of what they've done historically, but this year or the last couple of years, they've kind of taken their foot off their gas. Maruku, I'm going to be honest, is probably my favourite. Again, it's one gun that isn't particularly pushed by Browning, but it's always there because everyone knows that is one of the best guns on the market. If you can get hold of them, which I know Browning have had a bit of a struggle getting them out there, especially the grade 1s, but it's always there. So it's one gun that's always in the top 3, and that's why, because it is one of the best guns on the market. The Yieldit Pro, or the Yieldit Range, I'm going to say the SPZ or the Pro. This is one gun imported by Ray Trade. So Ray Trade is the UK importer of Yieldits in the UK. And this gun is almost adopted a little version of what Browning have done over the last 10 years. They sponsor quite a lot of clay shooters now with the Pro range. So they sponsor Max Tar. They sponsor some of the lady organisations. They sponsor the Schools Challenge, so they get in the kid way, which is, again, they get the youngsters into it, which is where Yieldit started their life. They've now adopted the Browning range, the Browning way, and they've adopted shooting schools. So they've put a lot of these into some of the big shooting schools. So again, when you go and have your first lesson, a lot of people, you can now shoot the Yieldit range. So at Ray Trade as a whole are, again, supporting you as a shooter right the way from their £600 guns to their £2,000 guns. And now they've got a full range. So you can pick a Yieldit. They're not just a Turkish manufacturer. Yieldits, they're here to stay, and they're a good quality gun. And they've got 5 years warranty. And they are the only gun that is still shot, and they literally say on their barrel, still shot proof. So they don't just use the fleur-de-lis, they actually write on here, this gun is suitable for still shot. So they are really working hard to get out there in the new world that we live in. And then you've got ATA, which is probably the cheapest of the guns. They don't really do a great deal of sort of over £1,000 guns. They're great guns. Again, they've got a 3-year warranty. They're a fantastic gun for the £600 mark. They don't do an expensive gun yet. But they're a good all-round gun. Again, if you look at them, they go to the game fair, they go to the shooting show, they sponsor a fair bit of events. So that is why they've got up there. So in theory, the 2 biggest guns really this year that have gone from little to big are the Yieldit range and the ATA range. I'd love to hear your comments on my top 5 guns of 2023. Please comment below and comment, do you agree with my top 5 guns? And do you think I've missed a gun out of here? Because I have got another film coming up with the guns that still are out on the market but not quite up in the top 5. So that is my part 2 of my top guns of 2023. So I hope you've enjoyed this programme. And I hope you understand with why I didn't just hit you with top 5 guns and that is it, which is what most of the YouTube channels are going to be doing. I actually explained to you why my reasons are for picking these 5 guns. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Don't forget, join the membership for the listeners, £2.99 a month, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching, and please comment on anything that you think I put in this film.